Namaskar, Nilesh here in another session of Shraddha and Pradnya. This particular question is also a recurring question, frequently asked question, except it typically shows up once every year. And that particular time when this question is asked repeatedly is this particular time of the year. So let me get into the question. This is part 5 of Shraddha and Pradnya. Okay, this is a representative question, this time from SV, and this came, I think, few days ago. I don't have the exact date right now. But this is a recurring question, as I said, and it comes from all different quarters. Quickly, sir, I have read 3 books of yours and enjoyed them thoroughly. Thank you, SV. My question is about Ramayana, Tithi of Ram killing Ravan and Ram returning to Ayodhya. And you can understand why this is a recurring question and why it gets asked around this time of the year. SV goes on, he says, we celebrate Ravan killing, we should read that we celebrate Ram killing Ravan, not Ravan killing, or okay, we celebrate Ravana's killing, possibly, okay? So we celebrate Ram killing Ravana or Ravana being killed on the day of Vijayadashmi, that is during the month of Ashwin Shukla Dashmi. That happened just a few days ago, 2 days ago. Today being whatever the date is, okay, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it happened 2 days ago. And we celebrate Ram returning to Ayodhya, okay, which is same time as Ram meeting with Bharat near Nandigram, just on the outskirts of Ayodhya, and they entering Ayodhya. So Rama returning to Ayodhya, entering Ayodhya on the day of Deepavali. That's how we celebrate. So what SV is saying is correct. Most of you should be familiar with this, that we celebrate Rama killing Ravana or Ravana Vada on the Vijayadashmi day, the Dasara day, the Dashahara day, and it is celebrated in many different ways. Also, Rama returning to Ayodhya is also celebrated on the Deepavali day, or although we celebrate Lakshmi Pujan on the Deepavali day, Diwali day, the Amavasya, many are aware that this is connected with Rama's returning to Ayodhya. And many even relate, the whole idea of putting many lamps, traditionally oil lamps, and Deepavali, a long row of the lamps, that is to welcome Rama. That's how also it's connected, at least as far as the celebration of Deepavali is concerned. SV goes on, I have also heard in some lectures, I don't think he's referring to my lectures, and if he is, then that's not correct. I don't ever say that, but it appears he might have heard this in some lectures by other individuals, that Ram returned on the day of his birthday, that is to say Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra. Then he says, he has read my books, by the way, and this is very important, guys, okay? So before you ask the question, especially if it is already covered in my books, there is no point you asking that question, okay? So if it's not covered, then it makes sense to ask the question. SV has done his homework. So he's saying, okay, this is how we celebrate traditionally. Somewhere else, he has also heard that Ram returned to Ayodhya on his birthday, Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra. On the other hand, he says, you claim, which is to say I, Nilesh, claims that Rama killing Ravana on Chaitra Amavasya. That is to say, I'm asserting, I'm claiming that Ram killed Ravan not on the day of Vijayadashmi, not on Ashwin Shukla Dashmi, but on the day of Chaitra Amavasya. That is correct, what he's saying. And Ram returning to Ayodhya on Vaishak Shukla Shashti. Okay, that is in my book, The Historic Rama, which is published via Amazon, or in India, the book is titled 12,209 BCE, the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha. And of course, naturally, very relevant question, how do we reconcile these different tithis? Okay, upfront, before we get into the details, I'll say I don't know who says that Ram returned to Ayodhya on his birthday, Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra. I don't know who that person is, but I'll say that is wrong. It is wrong because there is no basis for it in the Valmiki Ramayana. Also, as we know, there is no traditional basis that at least I am aware of. If anyone is aware of this, in some Indian tradition, somebody celebrating Rama returning to Ayodhya on Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra, let me know. Now, if you remember, when Ram was born, he was born on Chaitra Shukla Navami, and Valmiki Ramayana tells us that the nakshatra was Punarvasu. And therefore, it's very important for all of us, especially the people who are interested in the fascinating Indian astronomy and the nakshatra system. It's very important you get hold of the nakshatra list. It is there in all of my books, but it's also there in Wikipedia and Google. Understand the sequence and have it by heart, guys. Okay, you're going to find this more fascinating. So Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra is also possible because after, so Ardra, Punarvasu, Pushya, Ashlesha, Magha. And the Tithi and a Nakshatra, they can vary a little bit. So if we fix the Tithi, fix the Tithi and a month, such as Chaitra Shukla Navami, the nakshatra of Chaitra Shukla Navami can be plus minus one nakshatra, sometime even plus minus two nakshatra, depending on the Adhika Masa and the location of Adhika Masa and so on. That's possible. Or sometimes there is a Kshaya Tithi or Kshaya Nakshatra. All these things can happen. We will not go into the technicalities of it. But on the Shraddha and on the Pujya Buddhi, and having that confidence that you can always, if you are curious, go back to Indian Panchanga and study as long as you want, you will able to verify for yourself that Chaitra Shukla Navami can occur on Punarvasu. It can also occur on Pushya Nakshatra. In fact, it's not a bad idea to remember this as a rule of thumb, that for a given lunar month and a specific tithi, the nakshatra can go plus minus one, plus minus two nakshatras. So Pushya Nakshatra is possible on Chaitra Shukla Navami. Punarvasu Nakshatra is possible on Chaitra Shukla Navami. And let's just for a sake of completion, let's say it can also vary additional plus minus one nakshatra. Okay, now that's not the point, but I have not heard Rama returning on Chaitra Shukla Navami and Pushya Nakshatra, even in some tradition of India or certain parts of India. So that's wrong because I have not heard as a tradition, but that's not the reason why I'm saying it is wrong, because Valmiki Ramayana evidence definitely says otherwise. Now, what about the Ravana being killed on Vijayadashmi day and Rama returning to Ayodhya on or entering Ayodhya or meeting Bharat on Deepavali day? These are our traditional celebrations in memory of those events of Ram killing Ravan or Ram returning to Ayodhya. However, if you look at the Valmiki Ramayana evidence, what we find is that indeed Rama killed Ravana on Chaitra Amavasya and Ram returned to Ayodhya on Vaishak Shukla Shashti, as I have stated in my book, The Historic Rama. Now we are looking at the specific lunar month and a nakshatra and a tithi, which essentially gets repeated. Like nakshatra gets repeated every month, tithi gets repeated every month or every paksha, every fortnight, because we have a same tithi, like say Shashti, occurring in a Shukla paksha and also Vadya paksha. So Shashti occurs in any given lunar month twice, okay, and a particular nakshatra occurs in any given lunar month once. Okay, so that's a very short-term cycle. But what about the specific timing of historic Ram? For that, you have to, of course, go and read my book and along with Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so how do we reconcile this? The Chaitra Shukla Nomi and Pushya Nakshatra, I said we should reject it. Now, if a certain tradition in India celebrates this as, say, in memory of this particular event, that's perfectly fine. I don't see any issue whatsoever, as much as there is no issue whatsoever, guys, in celebrating Rama's killing of Ravana on a Vijayadashmi day, or Rama returning to Ayodhya on a Deepavali day, from a cultural point of view, in memory of those great events of the past. Nothing wrong with it. However, if we are looking for the precise and accurate lunar month, lunar tithi, lunar nakshatra, from a historical point of view and from the precision and accuracy point of view, then definitely those days are Chaitra Amavasya and Vaishak Shukla Shashti. Now let's look at how they are so. All right, so let's see. Okay, so if you want to know how I arrived at 13th millennium BCE for the timing of Ramayana, you will have to read that book in the middle, the historic Rama. And if you want to know, that's not the subject today, but Mahabharata, like how I arrived at 5561 BC, then you have to read the two books on the sides, okay, the Bhishma Nirvan and when did the Mahabharata, what happened. This is how they appear on Amazon. And if you are in India, of course, you can have those books from Amazon, but why pay more when you get a better quality in terms of the print, the cover, everything, and of course, the price. You can get those books from www.subupublications.com. Okay. All right. And if you get all three of them, you get that attractive package price. Okay, about like $1,000, sorry, 1,000 rupees, 1,047 rupees. All three books home delivered anywhere within India, guys, not outside India. You can get these books from Subbu Publication outside India delivered to your address, but please check the shipping cost. Okay, shipping costs are substantial anywhere around the world these days, and so do check those, because those will get added to this price if it's outside India. All right, okay, so let's get to the event of Ram killing Ravan. So how I arrived at 12,208 BCE, which is going back more than 14,000 years. That cannot be explained in 2 minutes. That cannot be explained in 2 hours. That cannot be explained in 20 hours. Guys, you have to read that book very likely multiple times. Okay, but it's fascinating. And until you get goosebumps, you can take that as a litmus test, that when you get goosebumps while reading it, then you are understanding it. Until then, you are not understanding it. It's like quantum mechanics. Richard Feynman said it, but many others, Niels Bohr said it. He said, you study quantum mechanics and suppose you understand it and then you don't go mad. You don't feel what is happening, then you have not understood quantum mechanics. Similarly, if you're not fascinated, like, my God, how come all this evidence is leading to 13 millennium BCE, or very specific dates such as 6 January 12,200 BCE for the day of Ram killing Ravan, you have not understood what's going on or what is being explained in Valmiki Ramayana, or how I took that evidence and scientifically tested it. Anyways, let's move on. So this is the day of Ram killing Ravan, 6 January 12,208 BCE. Of course, there are 600 plus astronomy descriptions or associated astronomy related descriptions in the Valmiki Ramayana, and they're put together like solving a jigsaw puzzle, solving a crossword puzzle, and that's how you get this. Astronomy speak using empirical testing, using astronomy simulations, and so on and so forth, mathematical calculations and whatnot. Here, I want to provide one reference, very important, because that also gets rid of some of the notions that we have. Well, come on, if everyone is celebrating Ram Killing Ravan on Vijayadashmi day, which is Ashwin Shukla Dashami, Shukla 10, who are you to say that that's not the case? Well, I am nobody, guys, but if we want to know anything about Ram, Ravan, and Ramayana, we have no other option, period. No other option as far as the historical aspect of Ramayana is concerned, but to go to the Sharan of Valmiki and Valmiki Ramayana. So I'm quoting something from Valmiki Ramayana, just a very small reference here, quickly to keep the episode duration limited or within a reasonable time. I realize that it's getting to 50 minutes and 90 minutes, and that's not quite good. Anyways, so the reference from this is from Yuddha Kanda and the time when Ram killed Ravan. And what it is saying, there are many other references, but specifically, there is that analogy that is used, Ramachandramasam drashtva grastam Ravana Rahuna. So there is that one analogy of as if that is the time of a eclipse, okay, Rahu. Okay, eclipse-like situation. It doesn't have to be always eclipse. So usually those descriptions, when they come, other than purely poetic descriptions, they come in the context of a full moon day, because that's when eclipse can occur, or Amavasya day. So this happens to be Amavasya day. Now, it's very important to understand, it's not that I am looking at that line 2, and because there is a reference to Rahu and someone becoming Grasta, and therefore I'm saying it's a full moon day or Amavasya. That's not so. There is sufficient evidence to actually arrive at Amavasya as the day when Ram killed Ravan. There happens to be, interestingly, Valmiki writing some verses some descriptions at the time of Ram killing Ravana into that language, describing what's happening in the sky. Okay, a eclipse-like situation, which is possibly a day of full moon or day of Amavasya. In this case, it's a day of Amavasya. Now, next it says, Prajapatyam cha nakshatram rohini shashina priyam samakramya budhastasthav prajanama shubhavaha. Just the keyword. Let's pull some keywords. One is Prajapatyam cha nakshatra. Fortunately, in this case, we don't have to take a guess. Okay. Now, when you study your nakshatra, all the names, 27, 28 names, but also their sequence, you may also look at the nakshatra devata, because both in Ramayana and Mahabharata, and also in our other ancient Indian narratives, many times a nakshatra is mentioned or referred to by the nakshatra devata. It happens many times, like Mahabharata, Bhagam nakshatra akramya surya putrena pidate. So the nakshatra is not said as a Purva Falguni or Uttara Falguni. It simply says Bhagam nakshatra, nakshatra of a Bhaga. Similarly, here we have Prajapatyam cha nakshatram. That nakshatra is a Rohini. Now, in this case, fortunately, we have been also given the name of the nakshatra. Says Prajapatyam cha nakshatra, the nakshatra of Prajapati, Rohini, which is dear to the moon, Shashina Priya. I mean, you know this other story of a moon being biased, towards Rohini. Again, that's a metaphor. We are trying to describe a astronomy situation, a nakshatra situation, in a language that's easy to remember in a story form. Okay. Now, what is happening? Samakramya budhastasthav. Okay. So that akramya, which means it's near, that Rohini nakshatra is near Mercury, or you can say Mercury. Buddha is a Mercury planet. Mercury was near nakshatra Rohini, and that you can actually see. This is Mercury here. This is nakshatra Kritika. This is Bharani. This is Rohini. So yeah, here we can say that it is near nakshatra Rohini. Now, why is this important? Also notice that it was a day of Amavasya, which means note down the position of the sun. So if position of the sun is here, close to Ashwini or something like close to Ashwini Nakshatra, what does that tell you? This can not be the lunar month of Ashwini. Do you know why? Because the lunar month of Ashwini is decided when sun is almost exactly opposite of where Ashwini Nakshatra is, so that the full moon position would fall, or the full moon would be near Nakshatra Ashwini, and therefore we will call it the lunar month of Ashwin. So this cannot be the lunar month of Ashwin, and that is when we celebrate Vijayadashmi. Okay, now remember how this traditional understanding of our celebration can bias, can cause distortion, can cause bias among our translators. Okay, these translators can be well versed in Sanskrit. They may understand the grammar, they may have a decent understanding of Ramayana, but they may take a traditional celebration such as we celebrating Ram Killing Ravan on Vijayadashmi day, and therefore confuse that with actual historical event. And I'm going to show you the translation. Okay, so this is a good example. Like, so this evidence matches. Okay, which means now Mercury, remember, Mercury is always going to be much closer to the sun. So if Mercury has to be in the vicinity of Rohini, then the sun has to be somewhere there. So think of as a Rohini nakshatra, plus minus 3 nakshatra. It cannot, the sun position of the sun cannot be far from that in order for Mercury to be near Nakshatra Rohini. Okay. All right. So that comes out to be 6 January 12,208 BC. I made a point that based on this, we can very decisively say that the Rama killing Ravana cannot be the time of the lunar month of Ashwin. Okay. All right. Let's go further. Now, I thought I put a slide there. Oh yeah, here. Okay. All right. Now this one, what I have done at the top is I have taken I just cut a piece from my book, The Historic Ram, or 12,209 BC. This is like after Ram killed Ravan. Ram invites Vanara party, the key Vanara warriors, also Vibhishan and some of his key warriors to come and visit Ayodhya along with him. And they agree. By they, I mean the Vanara leaders like Sugriv, Hanuman and such, Angad, and also Vibhishan and his warriors, key warriors, let's say. They agreed, and when they all had taken their seats, Vibhishan offers Pushpak, and he says, don't worry, within less than a day, we are going to reach Ayodhya. Pushpak rose into the air. Pushpak flew through the air while making big noise. These are the descriptions in the Yuddha Kanda of Valmiki Ramayana. They stopped on the way at Kishkinda. Okay, so it wasn't just a non-stop flight. Actually, they stopped at Kishkinda, where key Vanara women also joined, like Tara, and so they also joined the party. Pushpak flew again and landed near the ashram of sage Bharadwaj. And this was on Vaishak Shuddha Panchami. Okay, this day was 12 January 12,208 BC, and then sage Bharadwaj told Ram to go meet Bharat the next day, that is on 13 January 12,208 BC. We are going to look at those references, that Vaishak Shuddha Panchami. Here, once they arrived, Ram is asking Hanuman to go and meet Bharat before Ram meets Bharat. Okay, and this is happening on the day of a Panchami. Okay, so he says, go today, meet Bharat from the ashram of Bharadwaj and tell him that, so this is what the description is. So he says, you can see Rama here today, here itself today. You go and tell this to Bharat. And that today, when he has been duly permitted by Bharadwaj, the sage, after spending at the instance of the sage for a night of 5th lunar day, that Panchami Adya, okay, the day of Panchami. So just keep that in mind. Now look what the translator, this is from ValmikiRamayana.net, okay, and this is not to find faults into anyone. It's a very hard job to do the translation. And even then, the mistakes are to be expected. Okay, this is only to point out that you cannot blindly take any translation, and you have to have much background. It's not a bad idea to actually refer to 5-6 different translations, but even then, having the context of a Desha Kala Patra, like, remember, this is a description of a Ramayana times, and until we know exactly when Ramayana happens, we can end up in mistakes like this. So therefore, what he says, look, Panchami, he sees Panchami, and what does he translate that as? He says the fifth lunar day is fine, and in parentheses, the translator of Valmiki Ramayana, if you go to the site valmikiramana.net, he is translating and for our benefit, as if, and yes, his intention, whoever translated that, her intention is genuine, although it is giving a wrong information. It's there, let's call him he, the translator is saying, of the bright half of the month of Ashwayuja, meaning Ashwin. Where does that come from? Because in our times, okay, we celebrate Ram killing Ravan, and then he arriving somewhere in the month of Ashwin. So he says, well, I think still there is a problem with the date here, because it will become now what? The 6th day of Ashwin is when Ram arrives in Ayodhya, and that is still not the Ashwin Shukla Dashmi, okay? But he says, maybe forget about that problem, we'll deal with it, but at least it has to be the timing of Ashwin. Well, it is not. And I just showed you with the previous slide. But I will also give you some additional evidence from Valmiki Ramayana. Now, keep in mind, in order for anyone to understand these intricacies, they are not that complicated. But in order to get those goosebumps, anyone must be reasonably aware of fascinating, beautiful Indian lunisolar calendar. Okay, how does that calendar works? How the solar season matches, the solar position is used to match the season, how the Adhika Masa is used, how the 12 months are used, what does the Tithi means, and what is the connection between a lunar Tithi and a lunar Nakshatra, and so on. Okay, so this is the day of a Panchami. Here it is not stated as to which lunar month, and therefore the translator made this mistake. Now, why did he made this mistake? Because he's thinking, hey, in our times, we celebrate the approximate time, at least, for the celebration of Rama killing Ravan, and then he arriving at the ashram of Bharadwaj, and then meeting Bharata the next day is in the month of Ashwin. Okay, remember? SV asked the question, and said, as a tradition, we celebrate Ram killing Ravan on Ashwin Shukla Dashmi. And then approximately after 20 days, we celebrate Ram entering Ayodhya on Deepavali day. So it is all happening in our times as a celebration in the month of Ashwin. That's why it is there. Otherwise, it is wrong as far as the Valmiki Ramayana evidence is concerned, and therefore, as far as the historical accuracy is concerned. Okay, so keep that in mind. So all that is said is the day of a Panchami, but just see, imagine how quickly translator jumped into what she knew and tried to connect it. Now, what happens? There are these trolls, okay? Otherwise, on paper, highly educated, like bachelor's, master's, PhDs, MBAs, Sanskrit, yeah, God knows. But they will take something like this and, then they fall quickly into authority fallacy. And they will start saying, look, Nilesh is not agreeing with that translation. And they may even produce 10 other translations. Those all translations might be making a similar mistakes, driven by the same foundation, same basis, which is the traditional cultural celebration in our times. Again, nothing wrong with celebrating in our times the way we do it on a Vijayadashmi or a Deepavali day. Okay, absolutely, we should celebrate that. But if we want to move a little bit, those few, there won't be many. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatvata. Somebody who is interested in knowing something accurately and precisely is not everyone. Some people are very happy. There is some celebration going on, that may be enough. Or some celebration in a very devotional fashion with the memory of it is also sufficient, and nothing wrong with it. But from a historical perspective, this is not correct. Okay, let's go to the next one. So Ram and the party arrived at the ashram of Bharadwaj around on the day of a Panchami, or we can say they were definitely there on the day of a Panchami, but the month is not mentioned. Let's go to the next one. Of course, I showed you there. Just let me take you back for a second. So now, if the position of the sun is near Nakshatra Ashwini, that's what it is, okay? So that's why you need to know the sequence. So for example, here, that you don't see here, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, that's how the Nakshatra sequence is. So what you don't see in the picture, but where it appears to be the position of the sun is near Nakshatra Ashwini. Now, again, you need to understand the lunisolar calendar. So if sun's position is near Ashwini, what is more likely the lunar month, with maybe error of plus minus 1. So from there, in next 15 days, that moon, which is near sun right now on the day of Amavasya, is going to go around and come at a position exactly opposite to where sun is. Sun would be still near Nakshatra Ashwini, but the full moon would be almost opposite. And if you look at it, again, that's why you need to know the nakshatra sequence and how to count the nakshatra and nakshatra names. You will get across around the nakshatra Chitra plus or Chitra or Vishakha. So that's what I was going to say. Chitra plus minus 1 month. So it could be like Falgun, Chaitra, Vaishakh, somewhere there. Okay, and how we decide that month? That's why you need to learn Indian lunisolar calendar. Okay, so 15 days after, what are you going to get? You are going to get into the region of lunar month of Chaitra, Vaishakh, or Falgun, somewhere there. Just keep that in mind. Why is this important? Because after this, after Ram kills Ravan, immediately my couple of days have gone, the Sita's Agni Pariksha. Okay, Ram is still outside Lanka. He does not enter Lanka. And now he shows his eagerness to return to Ayodhya. Vibhishan makes arrangement of a Pushpak Viman. They all get together. And as I said, they take a quick stop at Kishkinda and arrive at Bharadwaj ashram. So possibly 2-3 days, 4 days have gone by. So now they are here at Panchami, but which Panchami is not mentioned. We should know it has to be a Panchami of what? Chaitra, Vaishakh, and possibly the Phalgun, but that's all gone. We have also said before that Ram killed Ravan on Chaitra Amavasya, last day of Chaitra. So Chaitra is over. So very likely we have a reason to believe that it's the Panchami of a Vaishakh. Okay, now can we validate that again? Fortunately, it's not always possible because we are at the mercy of the evidence that is available in our ancient text. But in this case, we are fortunate. The evidence is available. And so let's get there. This is just showing you a simulation for what we just said, Panchami. Okay, so 6 days ago, on 6th January, okay, 12,208, Ram killed Ravan. That was the day of Amavasya. Now we have the day of a Panchami. You can actually check here. The moon is said 5 days old. That's the Panchami day. And let's see what else we can see. This is like a 6 a.m. position, like the sunrise position. That's when kind of we note down the nakshatra and so on. Keep in mind, we have to assume, if required, error of plus minus 1 nakshatra, plus minus 2 nakshatras. Okay. So what is the nakshatra here? The nakshatra appears to be near Punarvasu. Okay. This is Punarvasu. So Ardra, Punarvasu, somewhere there. Great. Hanuman meets Bharat on 12th January, 12,208 BCE, the day of a Panchami. Okay. Now, this is going to be day of a Vaishakh. Well, how do we know that? Based on the position of the sun near Ashwini Bharani, and we can find out the position of the full moon. Now, let's go to the next reference. So here, Rama asked Hanuman with a message, certain instructions to go see Bharat. Even he says, note down, when you tell Bharat, Ram has trust in Bharat. They are very good brothers. But 14 plus years have gone by, and he just don't want to take anything for granted. That's why he's Bhagwan Ram. And he says, please, as you say this message of my arrival, meaning Rama's arrival at Bharadwaj ashram, when you tell this to Bharat, when Hanuman tells to Bharat, Ram asks Hanuman to note down the expression on the face of Bharat. Okay, if Bharat has changed his mind, remember, he's staying outside Ayodhya at Nandigram and looking after the affairs of the state. He's not sitting on a throne. He's actually putting Rama's Paduka on the throne and so on. So, but Ram wants to ensure that Bharat is of the same mind still. Okay, so he gives many other instructions, and part of this instruction now Hanuman is telling Bharat. He says, reaching the, or rather, Ram is telling Hanuman what to say. He says, reaching the coastline of Ganga river again, Ram is staying in the presence of sage Bharadwaj. So Hanuman is now saying this to Bharat. And then he continues, Hanuman continues, he says, tomorrow, when the moon will be in conjunction with the asteroid, that's not very good translation, it's in conjunction with nakshatra, or when the moon will be in Pusha. In fact, look at the verse there, Avignam Pusha Yogena Shvoramam Drashtum Arhasi. So when tomorrow the moon will be near Pusha, you, meaning Bharat, you'll be able to see Ram without any obstacle. So today, the current day is a Panchami. Remember, keep that in mind. And tomorrow is going to be Shashti naturally, and the moon will be in a Pusha. This information is very critical. Okay, this also allows us, just like I said before, to disqualify, remove Ashwin as the month for the as a timing for Ram killing Ravan, and also Ram meeting with Bharat, or Ram returning to Ayodhya. Quickly, one more word. I mentioned some, on well-educated, at least on a paper, some trolls. I call them trolls because they are extremely unscientific, idiotic, and illogical when they try to criticize my claims. I want people to critique, I want people to criticize, but not in a troll fashion, and not in an unscientific fashion, not in an illogical fashion, not in a stupid fashion, okay? There has to be some minimum level of intellect, minimum level of background knowledge before anyone does that. But of course, I mean, you cannot control other people's behavior, so we should learn to enjoy it. The reason I wanted to mention that, they have done this kind of nonsense elsewhere within Ramayana and also possibly Mahabharata. But here I just now, as I'm showing it to you, I saw the word, and this is not the specific trolls I have in mind, but somebody else, and this is possibly going back 2 years ago or so. I was giving a lecture somewhere, and when I showed this verse, one of the presentation, the person said, hold on, have you noticed this word here? And he said Vasantam. Okay, and he said, look, that this time Ram has returned in Chaitra Vaishak. I mean, even you are saying it, Mr. Oak, you are agreeing that it is the time of Vaishak, and Vaishak Shukla Shashti, and it is Vasantam. Okay, but whereas everywhere else in your book, you are saying the time of Chaitra and Vaishak at the time of Ramayana is not that of Vasanta, but rather it is of a Sharad or late Sharad. Now here, fortunately, the translator has done a decent job. There is no guarantee that all other translators would have done the same. Here, this word is coming in the sense of Vasata, in the sense of staying. Okay, Rama is staying in this staying here. Rama is staying in the presence of sage Bharadwaj. So Tam Ganga Punarasadya Vasantam Muni Sannidhav. He is staying with the Muni. Muni in this case referring to Bharadwaj. But some person, again, that's why half knowledge is bad, half knowledge is dangerous. I'm just giving you as a humorous example of it. That person, I'm trying to think where the talk was, but anyways, but person, definitely some Indian fellow who could read that Vasanta and said, hey, look, that's Vasanta. Okay, now why people do that? Because again, just like we celebrate Rama killing Ravan and his arrival in Ashwin, frankly, as far as the season is concerned, actually it is a decent approximation. Like the way we feel the season right now, the season of Vijayadashmi and season of Diwali is more or less the time, the seasonal atmosphere when Ram killed Ravan and Ram returned to Ayodhya. However, it wasn't the month of Ashwin or Kartik or anything. Okay, it was the month of Vaishakha, end of Chaitra and Vaishakha. And how does that happen? Like, how come Chaitra and Vaishakh would be in the Sharad or on the border of Sharad and Hemanta? Well, that has to do with another astronomy phenomenon known as the precession of the Earth's axis, which is beyond the scope of the talk today. I'm already at 40 minutes, so let me quickly wind up. Okay. So Pusha Yogena. Now, so Shashti and Pusha. Okay, so Shashti, the Tithi Shashti arrived on a Pusha Nakshatra. That much we know. We also know the position of the sun. So we know that definitely it's not Ashwin or anywhere close to Ashwin. It's not Ashwin, it's not Kartik. Okay, guys, are you with me? Because the sun is near Ashwin nakshatra, Ashwini nakshatra. So so the full moon position is going to be opposite of that, opposite of Ashwin, opposite of Bharani, opposite of Kritika, something like this. So it will not be the lunar month of Ashwin or Kartik. This information is useful. And then we also know that there was a Tithi Panchami. And also we know that the next day was a Shashti and the nakshatra was Pusha. Can you remember this? Okay, now let's go. So of course, Vaishak Shukla Shashti, and that's when Ram Ram came from Bharadwaj to Nandigram ashram, met Bharat and entered Ayodhya. Okay, so Rama's returning to Ayodhya was on a Vaishak Shukla Shashti. But remember, this was 14,000 years ago. And the precession of the Earth's axis, the way that phenomenon works, is such that the lunar months of our calendar, Chaitra, Vaishak, all that, they shift with respect to our seasons, okay, by 1 month every 2,000 years. So almost the picture is opposite of what it was at the time of Ramayana with respect to the lunar month and their connection with the seasons. Okay, with that, quickly, let's understand that connection of Pusha and Shashti. Now, how many times we can have a Tithi of Shashti and a Pushya Nakshatra? Let's look at it. For example, if we take month of Ashwin, which is how we celebrate, many people insist, even the trolls insist. The trolls insist, by the way, guys, that the lunar month do not shift with respect to season. Okay, that is what trolls insist. You can read their blogs, okay, and have a lot of fun, laughter, and goosebumps while laughing. Okay, or for goosebumps, you can come and read my books and watch these videos. Okay, so Ashwin, lunar month of Ashwin, and here, see, remember the dates are different. Huh? Here, this is a Tithi, Shashti. So Shukla Shashti, okay, so for that, it is this number 6, for example, you can say. And look at what the nakshatra is. This is for the month of Ashwin. The nakshatra is Jeshta. Now remember, we can go plus minus 1, 2 nakshatra, but if you go minus, what is that? Anuradha Vishakha. And if you go after Jeshta, it is Mula and Purvashadha. So nowhere close to Pushya Nakshatra. That also tells you that it cannot be the month of Ashwin. So we are verifying it with additional evidence of Valmiki Ramayana. Now, just like there is a Shashti coming in the Shukla Paksha, I don't know if you can read it here, but there will be a Shashti coming in the Vadya Paksha, okay, after full moon. And if you look at that, the nakshatra would be what? It's like approximately 15 days, right? This Shashti to the next Shashti, like Shukla Paksha to Vadya Paksha Shashti. So it will be opposite, opposite of Jeshta. So what? It is the range of what? Rohini, Margashirsha, Mrugashirsha, Ardra. And if I can read it, it's Mrugashirsha, that Vadya Paksha or Krishna Paksha Shashti. So by any count, any stretch of imagination, it cannot be the month of Ashwin. Not that I need to give you that much evidence to convince you. Actually, it's not required. Sometimes what happens when I get into nitty-gritty details so that people get to see this, how research happens, how you verify things by 10 different ways, and don't just do a careless job and start shouting what comes to your mind, thinking that's the truth, like trolls do. That's why I'm showing you in a different way. This is not because this is on a weaker footing or anything. Actually, it's very solid. Just that first information is sufficient. The position of the sun near Ashwini Nakshatra itself is sufficient to say it cannot be the month of Ashwin or Kartik or anything. Okay, that's clear. I'm just showing you with additional evidence that is there in Valmiki Ramayana, such as Panchami is the day when Ram arrived at Bharadwaj ashram, and something beautiful the next day, which is a Shashti, and the nakshatra is a Pushya. And so I'm trying to show you that Shashti and Pushya simply will not happen for the lunar month of Ashwin. So it cannot be Ashwin. We already proved that. This is an additional validation. This is called corroboration in a scientific language. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. What if we take month of Kartik, the next month? We know it cannot be the month of Kartik because we know the full moon position. The sun's position near Ashwini Bharani. So it cannot be the month of Kartik. We know that. But just to find out any other possible combinations, I am showing this. That's how we have to do the research. This is called sensitivity analysis, okay? Or this is called fine tuning. This is called additional validation. I mean, you can give whatever technical fancy name you want to give. The point is, you just don't find one reference, it gives you one conclusion and you start running away with it. You have to think of ways to criticize or critique your own claim. Under what circumstances it can be false, it can be wrong. And that is what I am doing. So I'm just looking at Ashwin month and saying, definitely that's not possible. What about Kartik? Something very interesting. The Shukla Paksha of Kartik, of course, will nowhere be close to Pushya Nakshatra. But I want to show you something. So this is month of Kartik, and I'm pulling it from this year's calendar, November 2022. Okay, month of Kartik. I'm taking this picture and expanding it here, so it's easy to read. So this Shashti on this 14th of November, and that day, this Shashti, it is a Kartik Vadya Shashti. So again, 6 is there. And remember, in our descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana, it was not stated whether it was a Shukla Panchami or Vadya Panchami. So somebody may take any Panchami and therefore any Shashti. Well, you can try. So if you take a Vadya Shashti, guess what? The nakshatra of that day, if you can read it here, it is Punarvasu. Now remember what I said, the nakshatra for a specific tithi can vary plus minus 1 or even plus minus 2, just to give a benefit of doubt. So when in this year, this particular year, 2022, our times, it's Punarvasu, in principle, Kartik Vadya Shashti, it's possible to have a nakshatra Pushya, which is just after Punarvasu, or possibly one before Ardra. And just to be on the safe side, we'll say that nakshatra plus minus 2 nakshatra. Let's say that is possible. Okay, so Kartik Vadya Shashti Pushya nakshatra is possible. So somebody may say, well, could it be possible that Ram returned to Ayodhya on Kartik Vadya Shashti? The answer is no. Now, how do we know that? We know that from the position of the sun near Ashwini when Ram killed Ravan. And of course, if you want to know additional evidence in support of this, then you have to read the historic Rama, 600 plus references. Okay. And after that, if you are not convinced, tough luck, guys, not tough luck to me, tough luck to you. Okay. So therefore, Kartik is not possible. Now let's go where else it is possible. Okay. So how I arrived at Vaishak Shukla Shashti. Of course, I already knew Chaitra Amavasya, the last day of Amavasya when Ram was killed. But remember, as a researcher, although you do want to make those connections, so Rama killing Ravana is happening on Chaitra Amavasya, so it's reasonable in like 6 days, and they have a pushpak. So Rama flew to Bharadwaj ashram via one stop in Kishkinda, and then the next day he met Bharat and entered Ayodhya. Yeah, that's all reasonable. But my point is, as a researcher, okay, as a scientific researcher, you have to look at each event as an independent event and try to find its own validation. That's what I am doing. Okay. So now let's see, although that's very easy. And I say, yeah, that must be Vaishak Panchami. And the next day should be Vaishak Shashti. Let me check the nakshatra of Vaishak Shashti. In fact, once you get good with the list of nakshatras by heart, once you start making the connection with the full moon and how the name of lunar month comes, guys, you don't need to look at the calendar. Okay, like if it's a Vaishak Shashti, Shukla Shashti, I can go from Vaishak 15 nakshatras backwards. I know the Amavasya nakshatra, and then I can go 6 nakshatras forward to know the in whereabouts where I am, and I'll know that it Pusha is possible. Okay, let's look at this Vaishak now. Okay, and then we are looking at Shukla Shashti. Okay, and what is the nakshatra? Punarvasu. Now remember, actual nakshatra, this is Punarvasu in our time, like this year, 2022. So for Vaishak, I have gone back to May 2022, the Vaishak that went by, okay? And just check the nakshatra. It's Punarvasu. Now keep in mind, the nakshatra for that particular lunar tithi can be a given nakshatra plus minus 1 or plus minus 2 nakshatra. The nakshatra that occurs after Punarvasu is a Pusha. So yeah, absolutely it's possible. I mean, very valid that Pusha would be the nakshatra. Pusha, actually, if you do this exercise of going 1 year after another, go do this for say 20 years in our calendar, say from 2000 to 2022, something like this, and check the nakshatra for Vaishak Shukla Shashti, like this 20 or 22 times, and you will find somewhere actually the nakshatra of Shashti was like a Pusha. Okay, again, that's a subject by itself. I'll not go there, why that nakshatra changes plus minus. Sometime we may cover it. I have covered it when I have taught classes on lunisolar calendar, but then this is not a class by any means. Okay, all right, I think that may be my last slide. So let's see if I have a summary slide. Okay, these are my books on Amazon. These are the books from Subbu. Quick summary. Valmiki Ramayana evidence is empirical and objectively testable. It's fascinating. It can be scientifically tested, and the logical conclusions can be drawn. 600 plus only astronomy related evidence fits beautifully together like pieces of jigsaw puzzle or the letters of crossword puzzle, and takes you to 13th millennium BCE. Not only just approximate time period, but fortunately the evidence is so rich, and we are lucky that we can empirically test it, and it leads to specific dates for, if not all, some of the specific events of Valmiki Ramayana or the Ramayana. Next, based on Valmiki Ramayana evidence, Ram killed Ravan on Chaitra Amavasya, that is the end of Chaitra, that is about, think of this as 15 days after the full moon of Chaitra. Then Ram arrived at the ashram of Bharadwaj on Vaishak Shukla Panchami. That reference exists in Valmiki Ramayana. Ram made Bharat, and therefore Ram also entered Ayodhya on the day of Vaishak Shukla Shashti, and the nakshatra was Pushya. This reference also exists in Valmiki Ramayana. We celebrate Ram killing Ravan on Vijayadashmi, the Dashara day or Dasara day, Ashwin Shukla Dashmi. No problem whatsoever with the celebration. Continue to do this celebration, okay? And Ram meeting Bharat and also entering Ayodhya, returning to Ayodhya, that happened on Ashwin Amavasya. That has been celebrated on Ashwin Amavasya, 20 days after the day of Vijayadashmi, Deepavali time, in memory of those events. So this bullet number 5 is like how we celebrate in memory of those historical events. But these are not actual historically precise and accurate dates. I cannot emphasize this enough. And the last one, it is important to recognize that our cultural celebrations may not match the nakshatra, the tithi, the lunar months, and even actually the seasons of the actual dates of historical events. Fortunately, as it relates to Ram killing Ravan and Ram returning to Ayodhya, as far as the season is concerned, which is what? Think of this as the second part of Sharat season and early part of Hemant season. As far as that is concerned, it indeed matches with when we celebrate it. So it's reasonable to assume, hey, that's how it might have felt. Now, some weather patterns change in the sense in Ramayana times, actually this time was more pleasant. slightly cooler than what it is today because of some other patterns. But otherwise, as far as season is concerned, very similar season, but not true for nakshatra, not true for tithi, and not true for the lunar months. Okay, we celebrate now in Ashwin, month of Ashwin. In reality, when Ramayana happened, more than 14,000 years ago, when Ram returned to Ayodhya, that was the lunar month of Vaishak and not Ashwin. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, I hate to say this, but please write the comments, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. Do the right stuff. In fact, now that I said it, I'll do one episode where I'll share a good framework created by a good framework and a checklist created by my good friend Raj Vedamji. Okay, like we as a dharma warriors, if you want to call it, intellectual kshatriyas of different grades and different inclinations, how we can participate. And he has created something very good. A while ago, I don't know when was that, maybe a couple of years ago, I asked him to share that slide with me, and he did. And I will share that with you, so that involves liking the things, making comments, subscribing to the channel, and many others, reading blogs, reading books, telling others about these videos. If you like them, then share the video with others, share the video with 10 friends, tell others about the books, tell others about the blogs. If you listen to some researcher, some individual, some dharma warrior, intellectual kshatriya, you liked it, share the video, do the same thing, like the video, make a comment that let those individuals know what they are doing is a good work, you like it. If you don't like it, make a critical comment too. Okay, that is also very much required. We always need a course correction. So time permitting, I'll do that sharing of the slide from Raj Vedamji at some point. But thank you very much. Best wishes to all of you as we wind up the celebration of Vijayadashmi and Garba dance. And best wishes to you for upcoming Deepavali celebration. Namaskar.